What is love? Baby, don't hurt me no more. But seriously, think about it. What exactly is love? When you think of love, what do you think of? Is it two people that put a ring on and vow their devotion for each other for the rest of their lives? Or is it a mom working overtime to pay for their children's clothes for back to school? Really think about your definition of love. Love is simple. Like, to be honest, in all honesty, all love is just repeated contact with something or someone. You see, you love your mom because she was there from when you first opened your eyes to until she was dead, or you were dead, God forbid. You've gotten familiar with her through repeated contact with her. I mean, love is still a beautiful thing. I mean, love itself makes you do immense things, and it's a very intense emotion. I'm not knocking it off. But people overcomplicate how love forms. They think that it's some spiritual connection like a soulmate, or like the universe put the pieces together for them to meet, or something like that. But, like, there's no underlying main purpose or reason. You just love someone or love something through just repeated contact with that thing. Love is basically familiarity, and the more familiar you are with something, the more you love it. Section 1. You can love any kind of work. You can truly love any kind of work. Sometimes I preach about doing things because you want to, and that still holds true. But you can do anything, literally anything, and begin to love it. But I guess this process into getting to love your work is still better if you do something that you want to. So this can be an interest or something like that. But in my opinion, and more importantly, I think it should be through asking yourself, what is the pain that you want to experience with your work? For example, would you rather want the pain of being, an Alaskan fisherman where you're going to be in cold, harsh waters, the waves are going to be kind of like, dangerous, and you can literally just fucking drown or freeze to death? Or would you rather feel the pain of, I don't know, like a school teacher where you might get disrespected by the students, or you might be stressed mentally coming up with lesson plans and grading papers? You have to understand that no matter what kind of work you do, there's going to be some kind of pain. No matter how much you love it, no matter how much you want to do the work, there's going to be some sort or level of pain and resistance that's involved. So the real question is, what resistance or pain do you want to experience and go through? Go through the negatives of the different kinds of work that you're interested or are thinking about doing, and the pain points of each one. Think of some of the worst things that can happen during this kind of work, and then see which ones would you rather experience, and you just found your type of work that you want to do. Because we must understand that if we would rather feel this pain and resistance over another one, then we will essentially have an easier time getting familiar with the work, since there's less resistance to feeling the pain and resistance. So that's the first step. You find the kind of work you want to do. Now you just need to love the work. And remember, love is just familiarity. So you probably can see what I'm going with this. In order to love your work, you need to get familiar with it. And how do you get familiar with work? You just do it a lot and build up consistency in doing that thing. And I just want to say that work can be like going to the gym or studying, because all work is just force times distance. So whatever requires force from you to do, whether physically or mentally, is just the force aspect. And distance is just the amount of time you've done the work. So the more distance, the more work you have done, basically. So anything that requires some sort of mental or physical energy to start and continue is by definition work. So we established that you need to continue to do this work over and over again to love it. So how exactly do you do that? Section 2, start small and end big. So what do I mean by starting small and ending big? No, it's not penis enlargement pills. It's basically just means start with a little bit of contact with this work. Maybe you work out one time a week, or you study and do that deep work for only 30 minutes a day. And then when you get familiar with the resistance and the pain of that, then it'll start to get too easy, right? So then all you do is simply increase that to 2 days instead of 1 day, or an hour a day instead of, 30 minutes a day. Now, you don't have to start this small, literally. Start at a level that you're comfortable at. Like, specifically one level above your comfort zone. So if you can do 3 times a week at the gym, or 3 hours of deep work or studying or whatever it is, don't start at the 3-day or 3-hour mark. Start at 4 days a week, or maybe 3 hours and a half or 4. Start one level above your comfort zone. And that's just basically a level at which you have no pain or resistance. That's what your comfort zone is. The point of all this is to feel the pain and resistance that this type of work gives us little by little. Basically, this whole process is just building up our pain and resistance tolerance to this type of work. So you can either make small increments at the daily or weekly level. Daily level tracks the hours that you do said thing. So let's say you study or do some deep work on the business for 3 hours a day, and you want to increase it because 3 hours is getting too comfortable. You increase it to 4, and then to 5, and then to 6. That's increasing it on a daily approach. This works best for goals that require more mental force, like to get started and continue. Because it will be foolish to increase the number of hours you work out or like are at the gym or run. It's dumb to work out for 5 hours a day or run for 5 hours a day. It's a waste of time. Mental energy drains way slower than physical energy. So if you have a more physical task, it will be best for you to do more weekly increments, which is basically like how much days you work out or run or swim a week. Obviously, you can still do like, daily increments, especially on things like running, such as increasing the amount of miles you jog or the amount of miles you swim. You can still use daily increments, but almost always the best way to track your progress in terms of like physical goals is a weekly increment. So there's gonna be a point in time where you've maximized everything. And if you continue to stick to like this process of just incrementally increasing like your input daily, there's gonna be a time where your work output is maximized. Like you can't do anymore. This is where the Goldilocks goals come in. The Goldilocks goals are goals that aren't too hard or too easy. They're just right for you, like Goldilocks with the porridge. And basically, in order to find your Goldilocks goals, you need to look at your work input, the volume you have and are able to do, and then pick 1 to 2 things. You can pick more, but 1 to 2 is like the sweet spot that you know for a fact are able to fill up that time slots and fill up that volume. So if you're able to work 12 hours a day, and that's your maximized input, and everyone has different maximized inputs and outputs. Maybe you can work longer or maybe you can work less. It's not a competition. But when I say maximize input, I don't mean work in general, because I mean anyone can work from the moment they wake up to the moment they close their eyes and make bullshit. So when I say maximize input, I mean how much quality hours of work can you do, not hours of work. We want to cut off right when like our quality in work starts to decrease no matter what we do, no matter how much breaks we take, no matter how much, minutes we meditate. We just can't seem to get over that hill, and we just lose kind of like respect for the work basically. And we don't want that. If you continue working while you're in that state of like you're not focused, you're not really wanting to do the work, you're just going to create bullshit, and we don't want that. That's bullshit basically. And we just want to hone in and maximize the amount of quality, because quality will be quantity any day of the week. Anyways, let's say you work 12 hours a day. The ideal Goldilocks goal are 1 to 2 things. It can be more, but ideally 1 to 2 things that you think or know through trial and error take 12 hours to complete with quality. So that's how you kind of frame your Goldilocks goals. And that is the question you should think about. What are the 1 to 2 things I can do? Of course, I'm talking in the perspective of mental tasks like deep work and studying. So if your kind of work is like mental tasks, which is basically it takes mental energy to do this thing, then simply at night, grab a piece of paper and ask this question at nighttime when you're about to sleep, which is, what are the 1 to 2 most important things that are able to take X amount of hours, and you fill in that X amount of hours with your maximized input to do with quality. Now again, your Goldilocks goals can stay the same for a certain amount of time, right? But if they do change, then ask yourself that question and you'll find it. Like you'll find like your 1 to 2 Goldilocks goals. And for more physical tasks, it's more so your Goldilocks goal is just the things you do. So such as tracking your calories and reaching that calorie goal, or working out hard, or running for X amount of distance. And these basically never change. They do change sometimes specifically on the distance, but overall for physical type of goals, especially if it's like getting an aesthetic physique, right? You're not going to be changing your Goldilocks goals that much. Really, your Goldilocks goals for this should just be tracking your calories and reaching that calorie goal and working out hard. That's basically it. Now for students or people with work, and the type of work you want to do is like a business or basically outside of work or school, then your Goldilocks goals would look just a little bit different to everyone else's. Because You have to understand that since you're working or have school, you have like 8 hours of that, which is automatically just taken from you. Like, you can't really control it. So if you're awake for 16 hours, half of that time is spent in work and school. Add commuting, eating, and all that other stuff, and you probably only have around 6 hours of actual time to go and work on these Goldilocks goals. So I suggest that you frame your Goldilocks goals in the amount of time that you have actually left. Obviously, on the weekends, you can go crazy, but I suggest that you should do 2 to 3 hours of deep work right before you go to school, and 2 to 3 hours of work if you can. And you should frame it in the sense that, what are the 1 to 2 things that I can complete with quality in the sessions? And instead of looking at the goal that you want from doing this work, look at the Goldilocks goals and measure your success on if you completed these goals or not, with quality, of course. We don't want to bullshit, right? So if you completed these Goldilocks goals that you set for yourself with quality, and you were successful this day, not by the results, because you can't control the results, right? You can only control what you do. So focus on what you do and if you did it with quality, and that will measure your success, right? Not the actual, achieving the goal or the success. If you achieve your Goldilocks goals every day with quality, it was a successful day. Think of it like that instead of saying, oh, I'll be this, or I'll be successful if I achieve this goal. Say, I'll be successful if I achieve these Goldilocks goals, these daily goals I've set for myself with quality. And if you just do that over and over again, eventually the goal will come. Eventually the results will come. But focus on those Goldilocks goals. Focus on the process of getting better with those Goldilocks goals. Focus on the process of creating quality work in these Goldilocks goals instead of the results. Section 3, pain should be good. During that process of loving your work and maximizing your input and this and that, you're going to stumble upon procrastination, and you're going to be in pain, and you're going to have resistance in the journey, like of getting familiar, and therefore for like beginning to love your work. There's going to be resistance met with that. And this simple mindset switch will help that journey and process 10 times easier. And the mindset or frame is that pain is good. I want to feel pain. Because we have to understand procrastination is the avoidance of negative emotions, the main one being pain. We have to understand that it's simply in our nature to avoid pain. Look deep enough in anything that you do, and you find that we do everything to avoid pain. I mean, you eat to avoid the pain of hunger. You scroll on social media to avoid the pain of effort. You want to make friends to avoid the pain of loneliness. I mean, everything you do in this life is to avoid a certain kind of pain. And I mean, this pattern of you avoiding pain even works for good habits. You work out to avoid the pain of a bad self-image and lack of confidence. You work on the business to avoid the pain of stress and poverty. You meditate to avoid the pain of not being able to focus and stress. I mean, everything we do, good or bad, is to avoid a certain type of pain. But if we frame our minds to basically want to experience pain, specifically the pain of effort and feeling, we will see that our journey will be way more consistent because we are facing the pain head on. I want you to embrace the pain. I want you to be excited to feel the pain and to fail. I want you to do that. I want you to always want to challenge yourself, to feel the pain of doing something new and trying and failing. I want you to believe that effort and feeling this pain of effort and feeling this pain of, failure is the real pleasure, not, hanging out at the party or scrolling on social media. I want you to frame your mind like that. I want you to embrace. I want you to feel the pain, because what this will do is, if you want to feel the pain, now you're not avoiding it. You're facing it, and actually you're taking the pain into your arms and pulling it in. You're embracing the pain. That's what I want you to do. I want you to look the pain right in the face. I want you to look at the pain of whatever work you're scared of, whatever you're scared of. And I want you to hold your arms out and hug that pain. Embrace the pain. Because when you embrace the pain, when you're excited to fail, when you're excited to, feel this pain and feel the effort and all of this other stuff, feel, your mind like going in all these different directions, doing something new. That is what's going to keep you doing this thing. And that is what's going to keep you being consistent, embracing this pain. So I want you to make a vow to yourself that every day you're going to embrace pain and challenge yourself one way or another. Step out your comfort zone, try a new thing on the menu, try a new exercise in the gym, maybe try a new product that you're going to sell. Whatever it is, vow to yourself that you'll never get comfortable. When you find yourself getting comfortable, that means you're getting complacent. And Nietzsche actually talks about this in like his books that kind of like, you know, I don't know how to say it, but they kind of like exemplify the Ubermensch, which is the overman, and I'm not going to get into that. But he always says that the Ubermensch always does things to challenge himself, to show himself that he's not as great as he thinks. Because when you start to get complacent, you start to get lazy, and that can set you back. So vow to yourself to always challenge yourself, and to not only face pain, but embrace it as well. Section 4, how to know you love your work. You know you love your work, not when you're all jittery or excited to do it. You know you love your work when, if you don't do that work, you feel like there's a hole in you. It's not like you're sad or anything, you're just unfulfilled. It doesn't feel like you're living. It feels like the clock is moving slow and that time is moving slow. And you're just sitting there empty. That's the first major kind of thing that you need to look out for to know that you finally love your work. If when you don't do that work and you don't experience that kind of pain the work gives you, you feel shallow and empty, like something missing. And in my opinion, the main and the biggest one that you should look out for is that you rather do the work than anything else. Like, yeah, you know, hanging out with friends are cool. Hanging out with family is cool. Sure, watching your favorite movies or TV shows are cool. Scrolling on social media is cool. But I'd rather do this. When you start feeling like that with your work, when you know, that's when you know that, like, you fully embraced it and loved it. Where, like, this work is something that you rather do over things that were conventionally fun beforehand. Because, you know, like, hanging out with your friends is fun, you know. Hanging out with family, especially if they're cool like that, is fun. You know, watching your favorite TV show is fun. But when you're like, I don't really care about this anymore. Like, obviously, I'm not saying it like that, but I'm saying, you know what, I'd rather just do this, man. I'd rather just, you know, feel this pain and experience this resistance. I'd rather do this than a lot of things, basically. When you put your work over a lot of things, then you know that you fully embraced it. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't watch your, you know, favorite TV shows or hang out with family or friends. Do those things and enjoy it. Don't work all day too much because, you know, too much of anything is bad. But when every day you're working, you're like, yeah, I'd rather do this than this. Like, I'd rather do this than going to the party. You found out that you love the work. When you start feeling like that about work, you know that you fully embrace the pain and resistance. You fully love the work. I just want to add that I have one-on-one coaching calls where I help young guys lost in their journey to self-improvement gain clarity and knowledge on how to actually start progressing in their goals without the uncertainty on whether they will achieve their goals or overcome their roadblocks. So again, it's free. You just book the one-on-one call in the description and we can just talk about whatever you feel like is stopping you from making progress and finally accelerating. So if you're interested in that, links in the description below this video. I wish you luck on your journey, and peace.